Hi, my name is Daniel Gross, and this is my testimony. So, I was born into the church, raised by Christian parents, grandparents, uncles, aunts were all in the ministry. So I knew about God, and I knew that Jesus loved me, and I was taught that He did. I grew up in a Christian school and was homeschooled for a while, and had a lot of good upbringing. But there was also a lot of anger, and in my home, my dad was very angry, and when he punished us, he would beat us kids. He beat me relentlessly for my entire childhood until I turned 18 and left the house. I watched him beat my mom, and it just made me see God as somebody who was ready to punish me, not as somebody who loved me. Even though I knew that Jesus loved me, I still had a misconception there. So there was a lot of pain there and hurt. I was also molested at a young age by a person in my church. So there was a lot of shame and feelings of being dirty and yeah. So knew that I needed to give my life to God and to Jesus. And so I accepted Him at 12 years old as my Savior, as broken and hurt as I was. Spent the rest of my teenage years staying away from my dad as much as I could and trying to stay out of the limelight. Once I turned 18, I left the house and I looked for peace in the world, but only found drugs and alcohol and partying. And I did that for 7 or 8 years, floated around, ruining relationships and friendships and just hurting and alone. Thought that maybe getting married and having kids and settling down would get me sober, so I did. I got clean for a little while and got married and had 3 kids and got back into church, and I did well for about 7 or 8 years. Was working in the church and serving others, and there was still no peace because I was very unforgiving of my dad. I had a lot of anger that I stifled. I never passed it on to my kids or anything like that, but I kept it in and it bottled up, and eventually I lost my marriage. Went back to using drugs, and it got really bad. So I spent about 10 years with a meth addiction, and got bad enough to where I was using it intravenously. And I was in and out of jail, on the street, no connection with my kids or my family. My mom and dad tried to help me a number of times. My dad tried to reconcile. Eventually, he let go of his anger and found some healing and tried to apologize, and I just wasn't having it. And just held on to that bitterness and that unforgiveness that turned to anger, and couldn't get past it. Was in and out of jail a bunch. God wasn't going to let me go and let me enjoy myself. I was miserable. I wanted to die. Eventually, I got arrested down in Georgia and did a little bit of prison time down there, and had gotten into a fight and was put in solitary confinement for 30 days. And one of the guards gave me a Bible and told me to read it. It said I needed Jesus, and I just wasn't having it at all. But it took me a few days, and eventually I started reading it, and I read through the whole New Testament. And there wasn't one verse that stuck out to me. It all just kind of washed my mind and cleansed my heart. And I spent some time in confession and repenting and asking God to forgive me. And as I did that, I remembered there was a time a couple of years before where my dad had asked me to forgive him, and I had rejected it. So I forgave him at that moment, and that was where I found my peace. That was the peace that God gave me from learning how to forgive and actually doing it and getting past that. And I haven't done drugs since. I had a lot of time that I had to do in Georgia and then Tennessee and then Virginia. It was about 4 years, all back to back to back. And that's just consequences of your actions. God's not going to let you go when you're saved, especially without having some kind of consequences. And I learned also through that it was out of love, not out of anger or hatred. So I did my time well, and found out about this program when I was in the Abingdon Regional Jail, and I didn't even have to pray about it. I knew God wanted me to come to this recovery through Christ. So I came, I got accepted into the program. I've been here about a month and a half, and I'm not recovering on my own power. I'm not recovering through mental health meds. I'm off those. I'm not recovering through 12 steps. I'm recovering through Christ. And this place is helping me do that. So I'm hopeful for the future. Thank you very much.